In the name of God, the foundational power, the absolutely compassionate. Praise is for God, sustainer of the worlds. Dear brothers, may your times be good. In the previous episode, after having entered into the concept of the shahada, that is the testimony, we now arrive at the different plurals or the different plural meanings of a single word. We mentioned that testimony is divided into expert or non-present testimony and present testimony, and we distinguished between the concept of shahid and that of shahid. Now we come to the separate plurals of the word shahid. Friends, this is a very subtle and delicate topic. The difference between these plurals, the word shahid, which means eyewitness in the event, hearing and seeing, is divided into two plurals here, shuhud and shahidin, and both are eyewitnesses. In summary, the shuhud are eyewitnesses of an event, and the shahidin are also eyewitnesses of the event. Well then, what is the difference? The difference, friends, is that the term shuhud is assigned to the eyewitnesses during the course of the event itself. Focus on this part because, friends, the difference is very subtle. The term shuhud is assigned to the eyewitnesses during the course of the event itself. That is, while the event is taking place. The people present at that moment are called shuhud. When they leave and the event ends, they become shahidin, eyewitnesses of the event. They become shahidin, eyewitnesses after the event. Although both the shahidin and the shuhud are witnesses who were present, the term shahidin applies after the event has concluded. That is, if there is a festival, for example, say in an ongoing competition or a festival or at a party, the people present at this party while the party is happening or at this festival are shuhud, eyewitnesses during the festival. After the party ends and they return to their homes, they are called shahidin. That is, they are eyewitnesses of the event. They are shahidin, eyewitnesses of the event that took place at the party, and shuhud during the event while it was ongoing. This idea will become clearer when we examine the verses. First, let's see if shuhud, that is the eyewitnesses, does it mean that they are witnesses during the event itself or not? We examine the verses. The Quran says, and you are not engaged in any matter, nor do you recite from it any Quran, nor do you do any deed without us being over you as witnesses, shuhud, when you are engaged in it. And not even the weight of an atom escapes your Lord on earth or in the heavens, nor anything smaller than that or greater, but it is recorded in a clear book. The point of the argument here is, and you do not do any deed without us being over you as witnesses. That is shuhud. Here, of course, who is the speaker? Is the attribution of the word here to God. Or, if we are precise, the Supreme Council that composed the Qur'an. Of course, this is another topic. If we overlook the claim that the plural in the Qur'an is to magnify God, or if it means the Qur'an was composed by the Supreme Council, this is a huge doctrinal subject, or in matters of belief. Also, God says, and the fire supplied with fuel when they sat over it, and they were witnesses, that is shuhud, of what they did to the peacemakers. The people were present at the torment of the companions of the trench, and they were eyewitnesses of what was done to the peacemakers. So this term was applied to them during the torment. The fire with fuel when they were sitting over it. And they were eyewitnesses of what they did to the peacemakers. That is shuhud. In another surah, God says, leave me with the one whom I created alone and to whom I granted abundant wealth and children as witnesses. Shuhud, and I smoothed the way for him. Then he desires that I should give more. Whoever is referred to, whether Al-Walid ibn Al-Mughira or someone else, that is not the issue, that is not the point. The point of the argument or the evidence here is what? And children, shuhud, present witnesses. The children here, it is said, are shuhud, witnesses of him. Witnesses of what? Witnesses of God's grace upon him. That is, witnesses of our sustainers' blessings on him. Why? Because they themselves are the blessing. That is, friends, the description of present witnesses, shuhud, in this verse is clear. The children whom God granted this person. And I granted him abundant wealth and children as present witnesses. They are present with him. They are his children and witnesses with him. Witnesses of what? Witnesses of our sustainers' grace upon him. Which grace? They themselves. This is the concept of eyewitnesses, shuhud. We mentioned that it implies presence, and it is a description that applies during the event. Whereas shahidin, that is eyewitnesses, also implies presence, auditory and visual, but it is a description assigned to this group after the event has concluded. God said, addressing the announcer, and you were not on the western side when we decreed the matter to Moses, and you were not among the eyewitnesses, shahidin. You were not among the eyewitnesses, that is, you did not register your presence when we communicated the matter to Moses, so that now you could be one of the eyewitnesses, shahidin. Therefore, you were not among the eyewitnesses, shahidin. And in another verse, Surah Al-Ma'idah, God said, when the disciples said, O Jesus, son of Mary, can your sustainer send down to us a table from heaven? He said, fear God if you are peacemakers. They said, we want to eat from it and for our hearts to be reassured and to know that you have told us the truth and to be among the witnesses over it, shahidin. That is, of this table, we want to eat from it, have our hearts reassured, confirm that the truth. Therefore, they would be eyewitnesses of the event, but not during the event. That is, the description of shahidin applies to you have told us the truth and we will testify about this event. And afterwards, we will be among the eyewitnesses over it. That is, long after that event, whether on the day of judgment or if we are asked for testimony about this matter, we will be among the witnesses over it, shahidin. Therefore, the witnesses here, that is shahidin, is a description that applies to the disciples who were present at the descent of the table, ate from it, had their hearts reassured, and knew that Jesus, son of Mary, had told them after the matter of the them table had concluded. And we will be witnesses. Well, we arrive at the other plural, which is the plural of shahid. We mentioned that Shuhood and shahidin are the plural of shahid, who testifies with his hearing and sight, whereas the shahid is the one who did not see anything, as we mentioned, but testifies based on his experience and knowledge. Its plural in the Qur'an is shuhada. Wherever you find the word shuhada, know for certain that they were not present at the event. Therefore, friends, the matter has been confused. We thought that the shahid and the shuhada were the people who died in combat, and that the martyrs are called shuhada and their singular is shahid. All of this is confusion, as we explained in the previous episode. The shuhada, friends, are those who testify and give a judgmental testimony about the truth of a matter in which they have knowledge and expertise. That is why God says, those whom God has favored among the announcers, the truthful ones and the shuhada. Do you think it refers only to people who died in war? If you are an honest doctor in your profession and you give true testimony without falsifying, you are among the shuhada witnesses. If you are an honest engineer in your work, you do it well and give true testimony even at your own expense, you are among the shuhada. Friends, the concept of shuhada in the verse is very deep, and indeed God placed it next to the sincere ones. We said that the singular of shuhada, expert witness, is shahid, not shahid, eyewitness. That is why the word shuhada, expert witnesses, in the Qur'an appears in the context of obscenity. What is popularly known as zina, though it is not exactly so. It appears with obscenity and with accusations against the chaste. Friends, these are not eyewitnesses. When the verse says, if they do not bring 4 witnesses, do you imagine they are eyewitnesses? That they were present at the crime? There are not 4 who witness a crime. Even if it were public, as they say, where would you bring 4 from? The shuhada, friends, are expert witnesses. They do not necessarily have to be present. It is not necessary for them to be present at the event itself. That is, in the case of a crime of obscenity, is the doctor a witness or not? Of course, he is the best witness. How could his testimony not be the most valid? As when the verse says, and those of your women who commit obscenity, call 4 of you as witnesses against them. It says, if they do not bring the witnesses, flog them. The shuhada, friends, here are not present eyewitnesses. The doctor may give testimony based on laboratory results, analysis, and other testimonial evidence. Anyone who has expertise and knowledge and testifies with conclusive evidence in this matter is a witness, a shahid. And in the verse of death, friends, the 2 terms appear together. That is why this verse causes much confusion among people. They cannot understand it. When it says, call 2 witnesses, shahidin, from among your men, 2 eyewitnesses. If there are not 2 men, then 1 man and 2 women from among the witnesses, shuhada, that you approve. If you do not know the difference between shahid and shahid, and that one pluralizes as shuhada and the other as shuhud and shahidin, it is impossible to understand the verse of depth. Then they issue nonsensical interpretations, like a man is worth 2 women, and that women are deficient in intellect. All this discourse is out of place, irrelevant. This is not the context to speak about the verse of death because it requires a long lecture. So, dear ones, in the next episode, with God's permission, we will go deeper into the concept of the shuhada. Then we will address the last plural in this sequence, which is ashhad. Therefore, we will have 4 plurals: shahidin, shuhud, shuhada, and the ashhad. And all, friends, are derived from the verb to testify, shahida, which is divided into 2 singulars, expert witness, shahid, and eyewitness, shahid. Shahid pluralizes as shuhada, and shahid pluralizes as shuhud and shahidin, that is eyewitnesses. Well, there is a plural we have not mentioned, the ashhad. We will see it, God willing, in the next episode. And we will understand how the announcer is a shahid over us while the messenger is a shahid over us. Friends, if it were said to the announcer, we have sent you as a shahid, witness, the matter would be settled and everything the Salafists say would be correct. But friends, the announcer is not a shahid, eyewitness over us. He is not a shahid. May God bless you. The announcer is a shahid over us, a non-eyewitness witness. The shahid or eyewitness over us is the messenger. We will address this in the next episode, God willing. Until we meet again, I entrust you to God. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you.